Alright everyone, welcome back. I am your Ice Dragon, Rayron VR. Today I got another manga spotlight for you guys. This is Citrus Volume 2. So right here we do have Older Teen. The MSRP is $13.99. And also let's go ahead and see what we got. Alright, so we got Yuzu and Mei may be stepsisters, but that's about all the two girls have in common. Yuzu is an outgoing girly girl who cares more about fashion than schoolwork, while Mei is a serious student council president. Yet despite their differences, or perhaps because of them, the two girls find themselves drawn to each other. Mei has been running herself ragged trying to oversee the school, and Yuzu is worried about her. When Mei's dad comes home from a business trip, however, it looks like the cavalry has arrived. Unfortunately, his presence opens up old wounds between father and daughter, and Yuzu finds herself caught in the middle. Will Yuzu put aside her feelings for Mei to help fix this family feud? With that, let's go ahead and dive into Volume 2. So with the guys, I will be talking about spoilers, and I really mean it this time around because normally I don't really want to go too much into spoilers if it's like very good when it comes to the storytelling. Unfortunately, when it comes to this volume, I'm just going to have to talk about it because my goodness, this volume is really, really good. The whole character writing, the whole character arcs of this volume is just fantastic. You usually have the one or two protagonists that have like really strong, or typically, you only have one protagonist that has like a really good character arc, but this volume crams in at least four character arcs that are really, really good. Actually, yeah, four character arcs on this, but man, I was moved by this particular volume. It was that good. So yeah, I will be talking about spoilers. So again, if you don't want to be spoiled, feel free to watch this video at a later time. And I highly recommend that you go out and pick this volume up. Read volume 1, obviously, but then get into volume 2 because this volume reminded me of kind of Spider-Man No Way Home, and kind of the meme with it that, you get the picture of a horse that, the back end looks really prestige and nice. And as you go through and try to draw the head, it looks all just like a 2-year-old did it. This one kind of works in reverse, and I'll go into that why here in a second. But it is really good by the end of it. So with it, guys, again, you've been warned. Here we go with the spoilers. So there is a lot to digest when it comes to this manga volume. So with that, we go into kind of the first half of this volume. So this first half of the volume, we get kind of introduced to the vice president chairman, Momokinu. Now, she is the type of person that can get really jealous, and so she confronts Yuzu because Momokinu caught kind of Yuzu and Mei kind of flirting in the president's office and so forth. And she just wants the truth out. She's trying to, interrogate slash witch hunt Yuzu into trying to figure out the truth of what's going on between the two. And then we start to realize that Momokinu is actually knew Mei since they were kids, and that she basically was acting like the older friend, maybe older sister in a way, to Mei. Whenever Mei got into trouble and needed help, Monokinu was there for her. And so when she starts seeing Yuzu kind of, being that older person, kind of feel like replacing herself, then she got really, really jealous into saying that, stay away from my Mei. And then, a good first half of this volume was just a whole jealousy game that, Monokino has this relationships for Mei. So we get this kind of competitive, who's going to get Mei? Is it going to be Yuzu? Is it Monokinu? And, the first half is like, okay, I mean, it's still done well. It's a kind of a trope that I'm just kind of getting sick of a little bit. When it comes to, okay, now we have, a three-way going on here, and everyone's trying to compete to get the girl, essentially. But, when we get about halfway through the volume, that's when everything flips 180. Because, I almost actually had to take a break from reading this volume because, the first half was just so much when it comes to, it was a jealousy contest that, it was getting kind of ridiculous. Mei was getting upset because you had Yuzu and Monokino going at each other's throats, essentially, yelling, screaming at school, and making all sorts of scenes. And it was just that, the whole competitive nature when it comes to, trying to get the partner, essentially. Like I said, about halfway, it kind of goes 180. And it just went, it felt like a whole different volume. And so what ended up happening was Yuzu kind of wanted to go on a date with Mei. And the place that she wanted to take Mei to was to go see Yuzu's biological father. And as it turns out, Yuzu's biological father has actually passed away. When Yuzu was about 3 years old, um, Yuzu, Yuzu's father actually passed away. So she does every year of the father passing away. So I gotta fix this real quick now that I think about it. Okay. Um, so every year she goes out to her father's gravesite and just hangs out with her father and so forth. So every year she's been doing that, and so she thought it'd be a good idea to introduce Mei. And so it gets really heartwarming really quickly. And then obviously we had Mono Kinu come out and try to stalk Yuzu and Mei. And then Mei just pretty much tells Mono Kinu that, hey, this is something I need to do. You basically need to back off. And then, she basically goes back home at that point. But they go out the to the gravesite. And then that's when Mei really starts to realize that, oh, your father's actually passed on. And she's like, yeah, happened during 3. And it's like, she's, if it doesn't strike her, it's just, that's just normal to her. And then it's like, you can feel the character in Mei kind of realize that, oh, she does this for her father. It's like, it's one of those lessons that even through the characters and the way the author written those characters out and with the story, that internally you feel for Mei that, you got to be thankful for the people that are still around you that you can still physically talk to, and everything being imposed. And with me being the reader, it's like, man, that's pretty heavy. That Yuzu is just so cheerful. She feels like she's talking to her dad, and it gives a big reality check to Mei. That again, you can feel it's not really expressed in the dialogue, but you as the reader, that Mei is thinking that, oh, I got to, not take life for granted, and, be thankful for the people who are still around, because, individuals like Yuzu don't have their father. And so it was truly moving. It was one heck of a scene, how it was portrayed, and it was really well done. It's like, it's just one of those quick, fast life lessons. And, by the end of it, Mei kind of walks on, and Yuzu was, impromptu talking to the graveside, which is her father. And, she basically cries, saying that, oh, I couldn't kiss Mei, and Mei overheard it. And, it was quite a scene. And that was the first one. There's a couple of them in here. It's like, it gets really realistic when it comes to the characters, and you really feel for them at that point. And it is a very, very powerful life lesson into that, you can't take life for granted, and, you got to have fun with the people that are still around you, So yeah, it was quite emotional scene. Quite emotional. And it was really, just really well done. It was a darn good story arc for these two. And so the next day, Mei then kind of turns into kind of a little bit of a bitch, essentially. Um, she was having just she was really being emotional. It was quickly 180 how it happened, but anyway, everyone kind of noticed that she was being mean to everyone, including her best friend Monokinu. And then Yuzu just pretty much said, "Enough. What is going on with you? You're acting like a bitch, and you need to figure out what's going on." And so we kind of realized that May is under a lot of stress because she is the student council president, and then that stress um, takes over her. Basically, she ends up getting a fever. She basically passes over, and Yuzu, being the good friend, was able to take May back to the nursing office and was able to, be by her side until she got better. But I love that portrayal because at the end of the day, we're all human, and if you push your body too much, your body is going to fight back. You know, this reminded me of a Blue Period because our main character in Blue Period worked himself up too much that he started to get hives and rashes on his arm. And so it's another great portrayal that we're not all superhuman. We're all vulnerable to anything at any given time. And again, that was another great scene that even the most smartest hardworking individuals, they are vulnerable. Put enough stress on the body, and the body is going to fight back. The body will fight back. And so after she kind of gets better, Yuzu runs into Monokinu, and they kind of settle the differences aside. It was the first time that those two finally see eye to eye on something, and in a way, they kind of become closer as friends. So. And then we kind of go into the last kind of act in this volume that was really the icing on the cake for me. I thought it couldn't get any better after the grave scene with Yuzu's um, father, but man, it delivered at the end. So we get kind of a twist that May's father came into town because May's father is actually dating Yuzu's biological mom. That's why May and Yuzu are technically stepsisters. They're not biological, they're just stepsisters. And we start to see, again, more character arcs, more character developments. We get to learn a lot more about May and May's father and why we kind of have this rift between the two. So the story goes is that May's father basically was hard driven, just like the grandfather was about this school. And eventually, May looked up to her father because she realized how hard her father was doing, and she wanted to be just like that. Well, come to find out, May's father wasn't really happy with what he was doing, and he wanted to do more. I don't want to say soul searching for what he should really be doing, but that was kind of the essence I got out of it. Because he basically started to go abroad, bring school and education worldwide, and so he travels a lot. And you know, by the end of it, well, I don't want to get to that too yet. But anyways, he kind of does a lot more different away from the family and so forth. And May never really forgave her father. Kind of, she felt abandoned because, he abandoned the school. He basically, in a way, abandoned May, and to go out and do, all his other good stuff in the world. And then we kind of one thing I did forget to talk about is that May was getting letters from her father, and May just would not talk about it. That just kind of rewinded a little bit. But anyways, so when May sees her father, it was like you can feel how thick the air was around those two because it was tense, really, really tense. Just even looking at the illustrations of this particular volume, it was tense. And when Yuzu tries to be the moderator between the two, May just runs in the bedroom and she was just angry because she felt abandoned. And then the father kind of opens up to Yuzu saying that, yeah, I did abandon her because, I just went off and did my own thing to be happy because that's the what his path was going towards. And he admits that, you know, he wasn't a great father to me. Now, I know the one thing you may ask is that, we see this trope all the time in Hollywood that, oh, we're playing the bad father again. This is seen in wokeness culture. Hang on to that thought for a little bit, and I'll explain why how this is completely different than what woke does, and this actually does it right. So we're going to continue on with that. And so the next day, May kind of goes. May's not really herself because she knows that the father kind of abandoned her, and she's trying to figure out with all these feelings, she's trying to figure out what to do. And with all these emotions, with all the stress, she basically goes into hiding at the school. And Yuzu, being usually the way she is, she does a cheeky little thing in taking over the school's PA system and tries to get Mei out of hiding over the PA system. It's typical Yuzu. Um, she does, she acts before she thinks, but sometimes that can be a good thing. So they eventually got Mei out of hiding, and Yuzu finds her and then basically grabs Mei, and it's like, okay, come with me. Your father is going to be leaving the airport. You need to say goodbye to her because, Mei's father travels a lot. And so the very next day, he was going to get on a plane and leave. And so Yuzu just basically said, you're going to come with me. And so they take a bike ride to the airport. And it's when there's one particular scene that I'm going to show you in here, and it left me with a damn good quote. One that I'm probably going to take with me for a while. One that's so relevant, especially for me and in my situations, that it made me think for a while. And so let's go ahead and take a look at that. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. So this is them riding to the airport. Yuzu is driving. We got really, really good. So yeah, I got heavily emotional when I read that quote because that applies even to me today. It applies to me today. And so they go on to they go to the airport, and then you get this. May gets an epiphany saying that, if I want to inherit the school, it's going to be on my terms. I'll take it over when I'm ready. And in that moment's notice, you basically see Mei and Yuzu mature. They go from these crazy, young adults who are just, kind of lusting for each other into like very mature woman. And it was very nice to see the character development on these two. And so you have this kind of character arcs that are just blooming. We start to see them maturing, their relationships start maturing. And it's something you just don't get. And even some other stories that I've read from manga wise, Blue Period's probably another good one that's come really close to like character arcs. This one takes it to a whole nother level. Takes it to a whole like I can't I'm still kind of shaking. Just definitely my longest that I reviewed, but there was so much that I have felt from this volume that I cannot recommend it enough. It blew me away. It blew me away that I'm probably gonna end up reading volume 3 tonight of this recording. So, because it is, like I said, I'm hesitant, but I'm curious where this goes. And I have had this spoiled a little bit because I was looking at all the other covers of Citrus to see how many volumes there were, and like the very last one kind of gives away where they're gonna take it. It's like, yeah, but I want the journey. Now I'm invested in a journey. I ship these two. You can do lesbian couples well, and this is a great example of that. This is a great example of that. So, but yeah,